I met this dynamic woman, Sharni Quinn, a few years ago. She sent me her book to review, Follow the Sun. I was so moved by the book that I needed to meet her in person, and she actually became an expert on for the Natural Medicine magazine and headed up our yoga corner. Welcome, Shani.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful being here.
You have been through quite a journey in writing this book.
Yes.
We met last year to discuss you coming on the channel.
Yes.
And then something happened in your life. And the reason we're here is so that you can share your story, because I think so many women can relate. And you're like this yoga, calm, collected together woman. But behind the scenes, that wasn't reality for you.
No.
But yoga also transformed you. So please tell me about your latest journey.
Well, it's very much the same as the last journey. Well, not the same, very similar, in that I have a habit in my life to push myself very far and very hard and end up completely burning out. And the first time that happened to me was, my big burnout was when what I wrote my book about.
This was the trigger when you were going through a divorce.
Yes, so that was going through a really, really, really tough divorce.
It really, really touched me, and you can get hold of the book. We will put links on. Please, it's a must read. And I was so concerned when you said to me, I can't film now, I'm on my way to Bali, the same things are happening inside of me.
And I realized that last year I was not in exactly the same space, but I was in a very similar space where now I wasn't feeling drained and burnt out because it was emotional. It was more from a physical point of view. Mm-hmm. Because before I left for Bali last year, I ended up working out that I was running essentially 3 wellness companies. Mm-hmm. And as any entrepreneur knows, running a company is not for the faint-hearted, even if it is yoga and wellness and meditation and everything. And I had a lot of people saying, but why are you stressed? You're a yogi, and
exactly.
The thing is, behind the scenes, you're also a businesswoman. Mm-hmm. And I had 20 yoga angels teaching underneath me for Follow the Sun, and we had 10 coaching angels, and that was just in Cape Town.
Nationwide. Oh,
that was in Cape Town. We had a whole team up in Joburg, and we were doing corporate wellness programs, and I was flying up every month to do a 9-month program with companies like Alexander Forbes and these high power corporate companies. And so it was amazing. And I love what I do so much.
It was incredible what you were able to achieve.
It was, and everyone was like, oh wait, you've written a book. I worked out the other day that I've taught more than 6,500 yoga classes, and obviously and I love writing. When I was writing for the magazine, I think I did that for about 2 years.
You were one of the only authors that actually submitted on time or ahead of time, and I really admired your stamina.
Well, I was always like, there's a deadline, I have to perform, and when I commit to something, I always want to do it, 100% and do it properly. So it wasn't even like I was doing something I didn't love. I love my work, very passionate about it. I was doing my daily yoga, I was doing my, twice a day, my TM and my meditation and eating healthily and exercising and, everything that we should be doing. And I think that's what it was, is that I was living this life that I should be living. And on the outside, everybody, on Facebook and Instagram, it looks glorious and taking all these ladies to Bali and Sri Lanka, which I love, except when you're doing that and you're on 24 hours, that's really not the point of yoga. And my body just collapsed once again. And
what happened physically?
Sure. So so it ended up being chronic fatigue and adrenal burnout. And I saw so many different homeopaths, and I always go the natural route first. So I saw a lot of those kind of doctors. Mm-hmm. And then my parents were like, okay, no, you're going to go see the specialist physician now, because I think they were worried there was something else going on as well.
So just physically, what did that look like? Just you couldn't get up in the morning?
Physically, it was absolutely awful. I couldn't get out of bed, major anxiety. Right. And I don't really live with daily anxiety all the time, but just absolute panic of how things are going to work out. Am I going to get everything
out? Did you wake up in a panic?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's
did
like
you go
that.
To bed thinking about all the panic?
Well, going to bed, I was thinking of my to-do list of running all the companies. So I wasn't sleeping. Mm-hmm. I would wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning and be probably be awake for a couple of hours. Even though I was then going, okay, let's meditate, listening to all the sound, doing all the things, as I said, that I should be doing. And it wasn't working. And
I'm glad I'm not the only
doesn't work. It's not working for me right now. But and then I'd wake up feeling completely anxious, and eventually got to the point where I was feeling depressed as well and couldn't get out of bed. And as I said, I'm not a person that suffers from depression, except in that particular point of time, going through my divorce. I was actually put onto antidepressants because the doctor that I was seeing, who was a medical intuitive, and I was on all these natural things, and she did some kinesiology on me, and she said, Sharni, your body is not coping. It's needing more than just the natural. And I refused. I was like, I don't want to, I've never been on anything like it before, and I'd never seen any psychologist before I'd, gone through my divorce. And thank goodness, I call them my earth angels. They were just there for me. I really believe that the right people come into your life at the right time.
I agree too.
And they were just so supportive, and they understood where I was coming from. And, I feel like they had a little bit of a spiritual, idea of the way the universe works and the way life flows. And, I feel like I could talk to them in my language. And she said to me, your body needs this. And I knew that it did, because it was my body giving her the answers in kinesiology. And I was like, okay, let's put me on those. And so when I got to this point again last year, I was like, oh my word, I cannot believe I'm in this space again.
Was it in winter or summer?
I just got back from Bali, and I actually went to Bali for a couple of weeks. I was doing one of my yoga retreats there. So we did that for 10 days. I stayed on for another 2 weeks. That was the plan. And then I just thought, you know what? I really need to look after myself now. I thought, I cannot come home. I'll need some time to just take some stock of what's going on. I found myself an amazing business coach who was helping support me and going, you can't do all of this. You need to pick one, which is very hard.
You didn't want to let anybody down. I mean, you've built up all these relationships with corporates and with, women going on retreats and all your angels doing, and you had to choose.
Well, that's the thing.
It must have been so hard.
It wasn't even all my clients. It was this was my yoga tribe, who are all my clients, but then also, I told all my yoga angels, this was and I mean, I'd been developing this program over a year. So, this is the program. We can all go out and sell it, and they can then be facilitating, because it's a combination of life coaching and yoga, philosophies and principles as well. And so when this all happened, I felt absolutely awful, because I thought, well, how can I let everybody down? I can't be selfish and thinking of myself, So
you were working through all these emotions.
So I was working through all
Bali.
of this, yes, in Bali. And so then I decided, and also why I went into all of that is because everyone says, well, that's where the money is, go into corporate. And I remember being at Alexander Forbes and walking in, and I had to completely buy a new wardrobe, because I don't own any corporate clothes. It's all yoga clothes and Bali dresses.
Sure.
And
why do we do that? Just about I mean, you should have just gone in your yoga.
Because it's what we should be doing, and it's also in Joburg. They think I had like a bit of a hippie, Cape Town vibe.
I've got this yoga top on for you, and it matches the colour of your book.
Gorgeous. So, and I had to change my language, because you've got to talk yoga. Not yoga, talk. They wouldn't understand me if I did.
Yes.
Corporate talk. And so I realized that I was changing the person that I was just to fit in with what should work with money, and and it was fear of what if I let people down, and also fear of wanting to sustain myself in the company that I'd built up. And then got to a point where I realized, actually, it's like when you're in a bad relationship, and obviously I had been in one that I knew wasn't working for me or the other person, and got to a point where I thought, you know what, I need to do what's best for me and what's best for everybody else. And I thought, I actually have to let the corporate side of things go. And my business coach said something to me which really, really hit home. And he said, if you say yes to everyone else, you're saying no to yourself. And I get goosebumps now thinking about that, because I was like, that is so powerful, because that's exactly what I was doing. And I think women nowadays are so busy looking after everyone else that they don't have time to look after themselves.
One thing I'd like to compliment you on is the fact that you reach out and find people in different departments of your life that can enrich you. You go
Yes.
out and find a life coach. You go out and find a business coach.
Yes.
Which is so essential, because we do as women think we can do it all and we have to do it all.
Yeah.
And we know, I mean, we've got the smarts, we can do this.
Of course.
But then something just, motivates you to go that route, and you get such a powerful, life-changing statement.
Yeah, and that's actually been my journey. I've always done that. I've always found a mentor, a coach, or someone that I can work with in whatever areas. And often I have a few, at the same time, just to because that's where I get my inspiration from, and that's where because they're the experts, so go to an expert that knows what they're talking about. Go to a business person who can say, you're doing way too much, and then it's almost like you can give yourself permission to go, okay, yes, I am. Instead of I need to push harder and do more. And so when I got back from Bali, I once again, I started working 16 hours a day, and
But
I had even
you
let
just
go
tell
of the
yourself,
corporate stuff.
Yes.
Yes. So I
Because
got
you
back.
let go and you still work.
I had this
6 hours a day.
amazing 3 months then working through all of that, came back, but it's coming back into that same lifestyle again. And I hadn't made enough life changes to counteract what my body essentially needed to go through for me to then realize, okay, no, I can't do this anymore. So essentially then what I was doing when I got back from Bali last year was running my Follow the Sun, which I decided was only going to be women's wellness. But then we started with a whole Cape Town yoga experiences, and that was launching doing yoga on top of Table Mountain. And that was in partnership with the Aerial Cableway. So
how could you let them
and
down?
we had exclusivity. So it's like such a wonderful opportunity, and we had so many amazing meetings with them, and they are such a divine team. So I didn't want to let them down either. And when you say what did it feel like physically, so it ended up being quite major depression as well, so I really couldn't actually get out of bed. But
and
physically,
by now you've come off all the antidepressants.
oh yes, no, I was only on those
ago.
for like 5 months, and then I actually went off them when I did my own Follow the Sun journey. So when I was in the ashram, I went to India and did a panchakarma with the doctor, an Ayurvedic doctor there, and he helped me get off them in a healthy way.
Right.
So I hadn't been on those for like 8 years or something. And and then now in the space that I'm like, I really am, I'm fine. I'm not going to take this. I can cope. I can do all of this.
I can go meditate.
I can meditate. And I was still, and I was pushing myself to, I must exercise. I must do my yoga. I must do my meditation. And, relentlessly doing that every day. And I must cook healthy food, and I must do all these things. And I actually I felt nauseous, like absolutely ill. I could spend about half an hour on my computer without feeling like I was going to get sick. Same on my cell phone. So I couldn't really respond, like I should be running a business and, emails, phones. And what I'd also done is cut down completely on our expenses. So my whole team now was, going to be helping in future with Cape Town yoga experiences, but wasn't helping me at the time. So now I'm doing everything once again on my own.
Right.
And and I just felt absolutely awful. I had no energy at all. So what happened is that from someone who can do 108 sun salutes at a time, I mean, in my book in that year, in 2010, I did, I think it was 4,644 sun salutes.
Incredibly inspiring.
In the year, and then got to last year again where I could hardly get through, 10. I think I was doing 1 or 2 and then feeling like faint and dizzy. And so that's where I said I was in that same space. So physically, I was in the same space as I was when I was going through that emotional breakdown.
Right.
And it was just because I was pushing myself too far and too hard.
I think I need to just pause here, because this is where people can relate. I mean, we can relate to, we need to transform our lives. So let's go and do raw juicing, let's meditate, let's do yoga. Instead of taking something away and putting that in your life, you add it to your life.
Yes, that's so true.
And that's the tricky thing, is to balance.
Yeah. And as women, we want to do it all. And, we can do anything. We are that powerful. We can do anything we want.
If you could just meditate for 8 minutes as well.
I was going to say, you just can't do everything, though. That's the
problem. That's the problem.
And I have been continuing with my meditation, because that didn't take energy. But I wasn't doing it twice a day every day. I was doing it maybe once a day, and because with TM, you do 20 minutes twice a day. And with my yoga, I have completely had to change. So no more power yoga, no more. I was doing gentle yoga at home, and I actually couldn't even go to a yoga studio. And often I'd spend half of the yoga class in Shavasana or in child's pose. And all my the yoga teachers, because I visit many yoga studios around Cape Town, and they were all, all my friends are saying, what's wrong, And I said, look, this is what I'm going through and this is where I'm at the moment. And I'm luckily...
So it's okay to just be in child's pose during a yoga.
Yes. And talk to the yoga teacher beforehand, because they don't know what you're going through. But your yoga time is for you. And if you need to do something gentle, do something gentle. And so for me, my biggest lesson out of all of this is about being true to you and being true to ourselves. And yes, yoga is good for us. Yes, meditation is good for us. Yes, juicing or healthy food and, eating well is good for us. But it is about having that balance. And, that's why for me, like we do our yoga wine and sunshine weekends, a yoga retreat where it's like yoga in the morning and a glass of wine in the evening, and in Bali we have yoga in the morning, cocktails at night, and it is about also just having fun, because I think a lot of people are we're pushing ourselves so hard to be able to perform, to be the best wife, the best mother, the best, the best career woman and the perfect yogi, and, we're going to do it all looking gorgeous and in these, gorgeous yoga pants.
And you've always shown that, and I'm so grateful that you're here being so honest and transparent and willing to just share that you are also just human.
But we all are, and even all those celebrities and everybody on Instagram, and we're all human, and, and I love social media, because years and years before we didn't have this connection with the rest of the world. So it's so divine to see what other people are doing on Facebook and Instagram, and it really is inspiring. However, I think we can also get caught up in, that's what everyone else has got and I don't have that. And in the meantime, those people also have bad days, and it's just a snapshot of our lives. And, when I put something on social media, I'm in that moment, and in that moment I'm completely happy and I'm loving life and everything. Knowing that stress, I really believe that stress has put me into that space. Working so hard and pushing myself so hard, and the levels of stress that I've actually burnt out 7 times in the last 13 years. And it's been many burnouts along the way, 2 major ones.
But you ignored them.
But I ignored them because I was doing everything I thought I needed to. And I said to the doctor, to the psychiatrist, I said, is there anything else I can do before I go on to antidepressants? And she said to me, I would normally tell people, do some yoga, meditate, eat healthy, go to sleep early. She goes, but you're doing all of that. Yes. So I realized that I had done everything that I could.
And you've been to the ashram and you've taken the time out.
I've done all of that, I've taken the time out. And now this is the next step. And it's been now, I think, a month on them, and it's really helped. It really has helped me. Look, I've still, from an exhaustion point of view, I can still only give an energy output a day of about 4 hours. And that 4 hours isn't just work. It's having meetings, sending out emails, sending messages back to your friends and family, and engaging with people. 4 hours a day, and that's it. And it used to be 16 hours a day of just work.
Right.
So now it's bed rest, and so I'm doing all of that, so the antidepressants don't help the chronic fatigue. That I still need, and that apparently it takes up to 2 years to actually recover properly from burnout. But it definitely is helping with anxiety and depression. So yes,
there's so much you can do, to get your energy levels back up. And there's so many cordyceps, for example, and ashwagandha, and those kind of things. Lovely having you.
Oh, it's so divine to speak to you. Thank you.